Hi, welcome back. Um, I recently did a little experiment on social media. And let me just give you a little background. I really hope you'll stay till the end because in our current climate, both political and media, we have to be very, very careful how we treat ourselves. Now, I recently did an experiment, and just to give you background, I have a series of businesses and I have a series of YouTube channels, and I have a series of people, friends mostly, that I do marketing for outside of my own stuff. And I follow algorithms very closely, very carefully. I've never been a camera guy. I'm not. I was a behind the scenes. I came up with ideas. I came up with slogans, different things. I sold advertising years ago for Yellow Pages, but all my life in business, I've been, personable, and I like marketing. I like creating events. I like doing all those things. I'm no special, famous. Obviously, this is not about that. But I understand the human condition, and I understand it because I've studied very hard over my lifetime. I'm a big fan of Anthony Robbins. I was a big fan of Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, all those guys, and plus the new guys too, Grant Cardone. All those guys are, and girls. What's the late Mel Robbins? I like all those people. I think you can learn a lot from them. But I did a little study recently, and what I did was I put out a series of campaigns, marketing campaigns for these various businesses, and I followed the views, the engagement and the views very carefully. And then on each one, at the very end of the campaign, I purposely put out something very controversial, political. And the algorithm just exploded on all of them, on all of these platforms. Exploded. One got something like 25,000 views. And I'm not going to get into the comments because they were scary. And obviously, that the worst offenders of this are politicians, and right up there with politicians are mainstream media. Now, we all know that car companies and restaurants and all kinds of marketing companies are brainwashing us. We are a culture that is addicted to consuming. And that's what they do. They sell us stuff. They sell us credit, by the way, so we can afford all this stuff. But I digress. So nobody uses this more than politicians and mainstream media. And there's a real sadness in that. And most of the sadness comes from the commenter, not the person they're attacking. It's very important that you understand when you say something negative to another person, or when you insult another person, or when you try to silence another person or control them, or try to convince them, that your way of thinking is better than theirs, you will never, ever, ever, as long as you live, you will never hurt them. You are hurting you. And this is why we all talk about toxicity and toxic people. If you attack somebody, you will get hurt. And here's why you will get hurt. Because that other person may leave your life or may just drop you. I find when I'm around toxic people right now, I don't engage. I just very silently, very politely, I walk away. And there's great healing in that for me. So I'm very aware of the human condition. But when I saw the reactions of the people in those examples, in that little experiment, I immediately started to do my research. Now, in fairness, I use Grok mostly. I use ChatGPT, but I use Grok. If you're not familiar with Grok, that's the Twitter or the X version of ChatGPT. That's XAI, which is Elon Musk. It's brilliant. Grok is brilliant. I use it to create images. I use it to create, to either, mostly not to create script or create, phrasing or whatever. I usually put my own stuff in there and then just have them, I have Grok, I call her Eve. She's my personal Grok agent. I will usually have her clean it up. But anyway, after I saw the impact that this had and the views it had, by the way, I didn't consider it a victory. I considered it a really sad example of where we are as a society. But then I started to think about what had just happened. And what a waste of time that we all do. And we're all guilty of it on a daily basis. It is a waste of time to engage in that type of stuff. So I almost lost somebody recently, somebody close to me, a business associate, a friend, a mentor in many ways. And our relationship is, it has its moments, but I respect the person, and I almost lost them. And I've lost people. I lost a brother. I'm sure you've lost people. It's very sad, right? But I started to go down the rabbit hole and do my research. And it turns out, this is very important you hear this, very important, because it helped me realize where I was wrong. Something like 8,000 people every day die just in the United States. That's something like my math is terrible. 350 people or something an hour, right? Is that right? Die in the United States. So you are, if you're watching this right now, you are a walking miracle. You're a walking miracle. I mean, I could drop dead on the next sentence. We are all walking miracles. And I want you to understand something, that the people that are putting this content out, the politicians and the media, they have much better researchers and thinkers and equipment and assets, much better than me. They are researching every single word, every sentence, every syllable. You are not getting political speeches. You are not getting news. You are getting content that's designed to trigger something in you. When you react to that, and your reaction is typically either extremely positive, right, which is angering somebody else, or extremely negative, which you think is going to anger somebody if you tell them. But it's actually not. The only person that you will hurt if you respond in anger or if you attack somebody is you. And here's something else that this is very important you remember. I can guarantee you that if you drop dead right now, none of those politicians are coming to your funeral. None of those politicians are going to call your loved ones and tell them they're sorry for your loss. And on top of that, I can guarantee you that if any of those politicians die, or the media heads die, or the big CEOs die, or whoever it is, I can guarantee you, you are not getting an invitation to their funeral. Because the fact of the matter is, you mean absolutely nothing to them. Nothing. You mean nothing to them. Now, we can talk about politics, we can talk about policy, we can talk about how things need to change. That's fine. But when you start attacking people, you're hurting you. Now, let's get back to what this is all about. You have the right to self-respect. Right is W-R-I-T-E. I am a big fan of journaling. I journal every single day, and I've done so since the late 80s, which is when I learned about journaling from Anthony Robbins. He was the first person that taught me to take out a journal and write things down every single day. I write in my journal daily, and when the journal is filled, I literally rip it up into little shreds and I throw it in the garbage. Because all a journal does is it detoxes your brain. You know how when you go on a fast or when you go on a run, your body flushes. You're flushing out your body, right? If you go on a deep fast, you're flushing out your body because stuff comes out of your body and you're like, whoa, what is in there, right? I'm not being funny. It's a fact. Journaling is flushing your brain. So I want you to imagine it's 9 a.m. in the morning and you read a headline and you're like, ah, and you want to lash out and you want to comment. Save it. When you come home at the end of your day, it depends on when you journal. Some people journal in the morning. I like to journal at night because I can journal about the day's events, good and bad. And you must be honest about everything. And just imagine yourself doing that. 9 a.m., somebody says something that triggers you. And you want to respond, and you want to either attack the person or attack, and I mean attack verbally, not physically. Don't ever attack anybody physically, unless you want to go to jail. Then you're an idiot. But I'm talking about verbally. If you feel like you want to do that, save that. Then at the end of the day, write this in your journal. You should always write 3 things you're thankful for, first of all, in your journal. You should also address the fact that you could have done some things differently. And had you done those things differently, how would it benefit you? And I don't mean in a selfish way, but in a mental way. So the attack that you wanted, the verbal attack you wanted to send to this person in the morning, write it down. Say, this happened, blah, 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 blah. And I wanted to say this, 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 and this, and this, and this. Write the whole thing down, everything you wanted to say, and more. Even if it's 10 pages long, write it down, get it all out. Write it down, write it down, write it down. This is what I wanted to say, and this person is a jerk, and they're a jerk because of this, and this, and this, and that, and the other. And then at the end of that entire thing, say, but I'm glad I didn't. Because I know that it wouldn't have changed a single thing in their life. They probably wouldn't even see it. And if it wasn't them that I was attacking, if it was an individual who had said something that I want to attack, they are also broken by the people who are putting out this information. Why would I possibly want to attack somebody who is just like me? And then praise yourself in your journal for not taking that action. That's real power. That's real power. And I'm not saying you have to go out and love everybody and hug everybody and agree with everybody and not speak your mind or do any of that stuff. I'm just telling you that most of the time when you're attacking another person verbally, it's hurting you. But if you step back and if you think and if you process everything, it will be much better for you. And again, sadly, we live in a world where you can't just hug things out. You'll hear these politicians poison you into thinking, well, we're going to go there and we're going to bring peace, and these people are fighting over here because of this. And understand, you can't just hug things out all the time. There are battles. We all have to fight battles. But most of the time, the battles we're fighting are a waste of time. And also, it's very important to understand that, like I said, these politicians will come, they will go. They don't care about you. At the end of the day, all we have is each other. And when we awaken to that fact, we will be a much better and more productive society. Now, sadly, as you're reading this, you're saying, yeah, that's great, man, but that's never going to happen. Yeah, you're probably right. Sadly, it may never happen. I think we're almost at the stage, especially in the United States, we actually need aliens to come from another planet so we can finally realize, whoa, wait a second, we're on our own here. Good Lord, why are we arguing? If you ever listen to astronauts, the first thing they will say when you know, and many have said it, and I'm not going to quote them because I would have to research who said it, but somebody, I think it might have been Mark Kelly, I believe it was Mark Kelly, he said, the first thing I noticed when I was up in space is I looked down and my first thought was, what are we fighting about? Why are we fighting each other? Because it's just one big ball. And we, as human beings, are just a tiny, tiny, tiny little speck of everything that's going on down there. And when you're up here and you're looking down at it, it makes you realize how simple of a species we actually are. And we are so ignorant in thinking that we are important. So listen, take care of yourself, love the people close to you, and the less people you attack verbally, the better it is for you personally. And try to imagine if they're thinking the same thing and they're not going to attack you and you're not going to attack them, imagine the world we would have just in 30 days. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped somebody and I hope it brought you some peace.